And that leads us to the story. First off, let's go with the headed in the opposite direction of where they want to be going, and that's Joey Logano. After 4 races this season, Joey has a finish of 32nd at Daytona, 28th at Atlanta. He cracked the top 10 at Vegas. He was 9th, and he fell back to 34th at the race at Phoenix. And this is a guy that has won 2 NASCAR championships, but he has yet to win a race in over a year. The last time he won a race was the first race at Atlanta Motor Speedway last year. Kyle Petty, should Joey Logano at least know where the panic button is right now?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I had not realized it had been that long.
Yeah, over a year.
Yeah. It's almost like he's in a foot race with web feet. You see what I did there with the web thing?
I do.
See what
I like
Nice.
Okay, so
it's good for ducks.
Yeah, good for ducks, but not for
race car drivers.
You know what? I don't. That's a great question, and I think yes to some degree, because at the same time he's not. Ryan Blaney has won a championship. Ryan Blaney has won races. Ryan Blaney is. I think we've run the first 4 races, and the last 4 or 5 races, he's finished in the top 5.
He's a points
going
leader.
back. Yeah, but I'm just saying, going back to last year, he's like a top 5 guy right now. You know what I mean? And so where is that 22 car? Where is he at? So I don't know if it's internal with that team. I don't believe it's internal with the organization, because one of your teammates is kicking your rear end. So you got to look at it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the juxtaposition of looking at the two of them, of where Ryan Blaney is, what he's accomplished in the past year, and where Joey Logano is, and the things that have befallen him and that team. Yes, I would say the panic button is something they should be looking for. Joey Logano has been in this sport for a very long time. He's a champion. He is a fantastic race car driver. So I always kind of have the thought in the back of my head, he'll be fine because he's Joey Logano. But yeah, things aren't looking great right now. He's 30th in points right now.
Yeah, I'll add one thing. The only argument in my mind that I can argue against myself is there are moments that he has run well. He just has nothing to show for it. Yeah. So running well still means something.
Brad Gillie, every football season, I gather all my Falcon gear up and douse it with lighter fluid and threaten to burn it in the backyard. Should Joey Logano fans be getting out the lighter fluid?
Let me first say this. Doug is actually very sincere when he says that about the Falcons. Yes. That's not an embellishment. I just want that known. You shouldn't go burn anything, but if I'm a Joey Logano fan, I'm actually pretty concerned because of what happened at Phoenix. They qualified mediocre. He was running mid-pack. Now, granted, he got pummeled by John Hunter Nemechek, and that caused the wreck and ended his day, but he shouldn't have been running there. A couple of front-row qualifying starting spots is a great thing, but what happens on Saturday doesn't mean anything on Sunday. They've got to get it finished on Sunday. There's still plenty of racing to go, but to your point, Doug, more than a year since he's been to victory lane, that actually is kind of shocking. Everyone's expecting Joey Logano to go deep into the playoffs because, well, it's an even-numbered year, and he happens to do that during even-numbered years, but they're not showing it right now.
I'm not here, and I didn't say this, but Team Penske almost has developed into a one-car team.
Oof.
Ooh.
Oof. Think about it. Austin Cindric, nowhere to be found. Joey Logano is hanging out with him.
He is 15th in points, Cindric.
But I will say this, back to be on your side. I think they've almost always been a one-car team. It's hard for me to go back and tell a time when they weren't a one-car team. Joey and then everybody else. Now it's Ryan and everybody else.
Yep.
It was Rusty and even that.
Brad.
And then Brad came along. And it's always been that kind of.
That's a good point.
That they focus, or one car has always run better.
I sense that Joey will turn this around and score a couple of wins and make a deeper run into the playoffs than he did last year when he was early exit. Alexis on the other side, his star seems to be ascending. He's finished 9th, 36th, 6th, and 12th. Noah Gragson, where did this come from?
I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of a bright spot, this season that I don't think a lot of people probably expected to see. Stewart-Haas Racing has been struggling, for a few years now. They kind of redeveloped their driver lineup. All of these things happen, and they've had some bright spots, the brightest of which has been Noah Gragson. He had a fantastic run at Las Vegas. Then he comes back, backs it up with a really great run this past week weekend. So, yeah, I mean, I think where's he sit right now? I think right now in points he is he's 26.
He had a 35-point penalty.
I was going to say that's what I was going to say. I think he's 26 in points right now. But if we were to give him, and I know we shouldn't play shoulda, woulda, couldas, but if we could give him those points back, he would be in the championship hunt. I get it. I understand. We're only 4 races into the season, but he would be in the points right now. As a playoff driver, if he did not have that penalty. So you just have to think of, that's a great run for that team.
Brad, has he had some sort of realization, or since we're in the desert, is this a mirage? Is this an aberration?
You know what? Here's what I think. This is what I like about Noah Gragson right now. Good decisions on the racetrack. Now, he was running right up in the top 10 right until just the last couple of laps of that race at Phoenix. I think last year Noah Gragson, pre-Cup driver Noah Gragson, might have taken that and tried a little bit too hard to finish in the top 10, and we might have been lining up for a green-white checker finish as a result because Noah might have done something over his head. But I think we've seen it over the races this year, and I think yesterday was a really good example that he was making good decisions on the racetrack, and he took what he had that day. Yeah, another top 10 would have been awesome, but he wasn't going to get it, and he didn't overdrive the car and put himself in trouble trying to get there.
Kyle, this is a heck of a reclamation project.
Yes. So this is what I want to say, and that is a great segue because we've had 2 drivers that I know of recently with Kyle Larson and Noah Gragson who have gone through sensitivity training and have been sidelined, have been out of the sport on the outside looking in, trying to find redemption and trying to find their way back in. They both came back more focused and ready mentally to do the job they were doing. And I think we're seeing it with Noah Gragson on the racetrack. And you just said it, Brad, making good decisions. He's making decisions. He's plotting it out in his head and executing on the racetrack, whether it's for 15th, whether it's for 5th. It doesn't make any difference. And I think we saw Kyle Larson. That was the knock on Kyle when he was over at Ganassi's. He can't finish. Man, he can lead 380 laps here of the 600 up against the wall, and then he walls it. You know what I mean? He just can't finish. He came back a better, more focused driver. So I think a lot of it is when you love something and it's taken away and you have that opportunity, you make the most of it. And I think Noah's making the most of it.
Now, we've never doubted his talent.
No. Now, listen, so many of these guys have the physical talent. And it's like the PGA. You talk to guys that play in the PGA. A lot of them have the physical ability and the talent. It's just what goes on between their ears. And I think a lot of times, if you can get what's going on inside your head and get that calmed down to a place, and I think that Noah, and Brad said it, I think Noah has just come back a different driver, a more focused driver, and intent on proving everyone that he can do this.
As a former driver, I'm curious if you had to break it down into percentages, how much of it is physical talent and how much of it is mental toughness and awareness. How would you do that?
So it can't be too much physical talent because they teach 15-year-olds to drive all day long. Okay. So let me just say that. But it is a lot. There's a lot of natural talent to it. Kyle Busch has more natural talent. Tim Richmond had more natural God-given ability than anybody you've ever seen. But a lot of guys just throw that away. A lot of guys just throw that away because they can't match it in their head. And we went through a period where Kyle Busch couldn't match it in his head. We saw it. Once you get to the championship, he just couldn't get it lined up mentally to the physical. Then when you see guys that come along and right off the bat, like Kevin Harvick, mentally, they don't have the experience and the talent to get to that place, but mentally it overcomes them. I said this when I started driving when I was 18. There was nobody tougher than Richard Petty, David Pearson, Buddy Baker, Cale Yarborough, Bobby Allison, between their ears. Physically, you could have whipped their butt out here in the parking lot at Charlotte if you want to, but mentally, you're not going to beat them. And that's what ends up ultimately winning races to this day, is the guy who mentally makes it happen.
Funny you say that. I vividly remember watching Buddy Baker here at Charlotte walk around after he would qualify smoking a cigarette in the garage because he was so nervous. That's right. That's right. Can't imagine that going on. And I got to give Noah Gragson credit, too. This is a guy that went from being pudgy, out of shape. I feel like I'm talking about myself. And throwing up after he won races. And he's cut a lot of weight. And I think he's going to make some noise